Today is the solemnity of the Transfiguration of our Lord. The Transfiguration is an event which occurred in the lifetime of the Lord and is narrated by all three synoptic gospels. Jesus takes with him three of the closest disciples to a mountain that is not named. And on the mountain, he is transfigured, where his clothes become dazzlingly white and his face shines like the sun. There appeared with him two Old Testament characters, Moses and Elijah, talking with Jesus in the Gospel of Luke, which we read today, explicitly about his departure from this world to the next, which means in practical terms about the death that he will face in Jerusalem. Even as they talk with Jesus, a voice is heard from heaven, the voice of the Father. And when the voice starts speaking, the two characters disappear because the voice is for the disciples and about Jesus alone. And the voice says to the disciples, "This is my beloved Son, my chosen." And the voice asks the disciples to listen to Jesus. What is the meaning of the Feast of the Transfiguration? What is the meaning of this event of the Transfiguration? As Jesus started his journey, he realized that he would have to one day, because of his proclamation, because of his vision of God, because of what he preached and talked about, that he would one day be rejected, he would one day be killed. However, that did not deter him in any way from doing what he believed in his heart. It did not prevent him from doing what he thought he had to do, and so he persevered and continued to preach as he believed the Father had asked him to preach. The Transfiguration is an event much before the passion and death, which prefigures not merely therefore the passion and death, but prefigures also the resurrection. The Transfiguration is saying that Jesus is Lord as much in the passion, when his face is disfigured, when he becomes unrecognizable, when he is beaten up and scourged and hit and spit upon, as much as when he is taken up into heaven, being raised from the dead. The Transfiguration is an event which allows us to see the glory of Jesus, even as the discussion between Moses, Elijah, and Jesus is about his departure from this world, is about his crucifixion, is about his death on a cross. In other words, the Transfiguration is saying that it might seem that God is absent when Jesus hangs on the cross. It might seem that death has overcome life when Jesus hangs on the cross. It might seem that untruth has triumphed over truth, and it might seem that darkness has overtaken light. But that is only what it seems like. The reality, and this is what the Transfiguration is, the reality is that darkness can never overcome light. The reality is that untruth can never overcome truth, and the reality is for us today that death can never overtake life. Life has been given to us in abundance by the Lord. Life continues to be given to us in abundance by the Lord, and this is the life we grasp and accept from the Lord as his gift. There are times in our lives when we have to carry a heavy cross. There are times in our life when life becomes burdensome. There are times in our lives when we wonder whether this God of love, this God of Jesus, is a God who cares for us, is a God who even knows what is going on in our lives. It is at those times that the Feast of the Transfiguration speaks to us. It says to us that when Jesus hung on the cross, the whole world made fun of him. It says to us that when Jesus hung on the cross, his disciples abandoned him. It says to us that when Jesus hung on the cross, the chief priests and the Pharisees mocked him. But it says to us that after Jesus was laid in the tomb, the Father raised him because the Father wanted to give him a new life. The Father did not want the old life for him. The Father wanted to realize that the world had to be seen in a completely different way, and the world must see the Lord in a completely different way. That is why the Father never allowed the Son to continue living, but allowed him to die so that he could live again, never to die. The Transfiguration is a solemnity and a feast of hope. It is a feast which says to us that we must never give up. It says to us that no matter how bleak the situation might be, there is always light. It says to us that there might seem to be no light at the end of the tunnel, but if we only go a little further in our perseverance and in our persistence, we will see the light. It says to us that darkness is only temporary, that untruth is only temporary, and that death is only temporary. What is permanent is light. What is permanent is truth. And what is permanent is life. Let us, as we celebrate the Feast of the Transfiguration, celebrate the gift of life, and life in all its fullness, the life that Jesus himself had come to bring. A happy Feast of the Transfiguration to every one of you.